But let's shift focus to matters politics right now. And it goes without saying, a day in politics is a lifetime. It has been a busy weekend starting Friday, where the Wiper Patriotic Front, I hope I got that right, actually held its National Delegates Conference. And we will be evaluating the major takeaways, the resolution, what it means for the united opposition going into 2027. And not just that, we seem to be in a season of handshakes. We'll equally be evaluating the President Ruto Gideon Moi Kabarak handshake and what it means for the united opposition going forward into 2027. In studio, I'm joined by Robert Mbui, the Kathiani Member of Parliament, but he wears many hats. Allow me to introduce him through his official titles at the party. That is the Wiper Patriotic Front. He's the National Organizing Secretary. But at the National Assembly, he happens to be the Deputy Minority Leader in the House. Bui, karibu sana. It's great to have you with us.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm also happy to be here.
Yeah.
Yes.
It has been a busy weekend.
Quite busy.
Yes.
Yes, I'm interested in the titles. Okay. One of the ones that you called me the Deputy Minority Leader. I've had issues with it because we have two majority leaders. Kimani Ichung'wah, by virtue of being the leader of Kenya Kwanza, and Junaid Mohammed, because the court pronounced that Azimio was a majority. Yeah. And now the two of them are on the same side and throughout making decisions on the broad-based government. Okay. So I've nicknamed myself the minority leader. Okay, I'll the de facto minority leader, not the deputy.
Okay, I'll get rid of that word. But I'm sure on paper it's still the deputy. But that's a story for another day.
Yes.
Okay, let's start with evaluating some of the major pronouncements that were made at a packed Uhuru Park just last week on Friday, where Wiper Patriotic Front endorsed Kalonzo Musyoka as their 2027 presidential candidate, reaffirming the opposition unity and resolve to field a single candidate against President William Ruto. Various speakers took to the podium. Let's just listen in to some of the sentiments they shared.
Kama Ruto nataka kuongea na mimi juu ya Kalonzo, ukuje mpaka wa Monyoro, tutaongea huko chini ya miti tukiangalia mlima. Huyu William Ruto anadharau huyu Kalonzo. Anamuita mtu ya dengu. Mimi nikuambie Ruto na watu yako. Huyu Kalonzo, huyu unadharau huyu. Huyu. This Kalonzo Musyoka is a critical factor in what will happen in 2027.
Biblia yatuambia ya kwamba mti mzuri wa matunda mazuri hukuzwa. Na mti usiozaa matunda unafanywa nini? Unafanywa nini? Kuna mti tulipanda Kenya hii inaitwa Kenya Kwanza. Huu ni mwaka wa 3. Na imezaa matunda mabaya yameumiza wa Kenya. Tunda la kwanza ni kuongeza ushuru na gharama ya maisha. Huo mti tukate tusikate. Tunda la pili ni ufisadi. Hadi rais wa nchi hii ameorodheshwa dunia nzima kuwa rais mfisadi kuliko marais wengine. Huu mti wa ufisadi tukate tusikate.
Ukora ya Ruto si lazima, jameni wa Kenya, lazima tuiweke kwa kikomo. Na kikomo itakuja tarehe 10 mwezi wa 8 mwaka wa 2027. Ndio tupeleke William Ruto nyumbani pale Sugoi.
Okay, just some of the leaders who spoke, not all of them, of course. It was a packed crowd right there, and the presence of DCP's Rigathi Gachagua, Jubilee's Fred Matiang'i, DAP-K's Eugene Wamalwa, NAC's Martha Karua, among others, is interpreted as an attempt to show solidarity despite the lingering questions on the opposition unity and who will eventually fly the opposition flag. Now, you are part and parcel of the NDC, from the planning to the execution. Of course, you are in attendance. Now, talk to us about the symbolism of this National Delegates Conference. What major resolutions were passed? And what do you tell the naysayers who say this was simply the Kamba community conglomerating at Uhuru Park and it simply didn't show the mobilization from across the country?
Thank you. First and foremost, we had delegates from across the country. we had delegates from all the 8 regions. So, I mean, the media that was in the house, because we had two functions. One was the delegates congress, and the other one was a super delegates conference. That was the one that was done in the park in the rally. Okay. But we had 3,500 delegates drawn from across the country, and basically every region was represented, and we had each and every one of them acknowledged in the hall. So anyone who says it was a lower eastern or an eastern affair is just shocked that Wiper has grown by leaps and bounds. And you know, my party leader's message in that meeting was that since Ruto has decided that he will give commands for the police to shoot demonstrators, and he's asked the young people to shoot Ruto in the ballot in 2027. But let me say that there were a number of resolutions that we came up with. One, of course, we did encourage our people to register as voters, and we did plan our countrywide vote, whatever membership registration, because I mean every party is as strong as the number of members that it has. But we had also crucial changes in our party constitution. You know, we did make changes, serious changes on some of the positions in the party, some of the titles for different committees in the party, the number of leaders for each position, because we realize that a national party really needs to have enough positions so that we can be able to accommodate more people. So, you know, previously having, you know, 2 deputy party leaders, we increased that number to 4. We also increased the number of deputy secretary general. So basically, there were quite a raft of changes. And then there was also the change of the logo and the change of the party name. We had proposed that earlier, and that's why the word Wiper Patriotic Front had gone out. But it was just done by the National Executive Council, which doesn't have the authority to do that. So that's why we needed the National Delegates Congress to be able to, you know, to make it real. You know, we actually put a question to the National Delegates Congress to accept or reject the proposal by the National Executive Council. And I'm happy that they did accept that we could do the name change, the logo change, and those other structural changes in the constitution. We also proposed a number of changes in the party election and nomination rules to make it easier and seamless for people to be able to be registered as members of the party and to vie under the party, because we noticed that our rules had some difficulties in some way and some complications. So we wanted to also align our rules with the IBC you know, processes, so that we don't fall, you know, afoul of the law. So basically those were some of the changes. We also, of course, did want to give our party leader authority to be able to negotiate on behalf of the party. I mean, this is a turbulent time. Between now and 2027, a lot of things will be happening. And we needed the party leader to have the authority to be able to negotiate, particularly the matter of getting into coalitions with like-minded political parties, because you cannot, it's not easy to call an NDC every other day. I mean, if you're talking about 3,500 delegates convening to be able to make certain decisions, you can do that every month, every 2, 3, 4 months. It's something that, in fact, most political parties will do that once every 5 years. So that's why we sought the authority of the Delegates Congress for the party leader to be able to negotiate on behalf of the party, but then only with the approval of the National Executive Council, which is well, basically the top decision-making organ of the party. Okay. So we did give him that authority. And finally, of course, the matter that was most important is that we are going into an election. We are part of already you know, a loose coalition that has not yet you know, put paper on I mean ink on paper, but which is forming. That is a united opposition. We don't even have a title yet, but we realize that in that kind of situation, we need to have a candidate that is already endorsed by his political party. Because, I mean, some of these parties that are part of our coalition, they have several people that might be interested in being the candidate for those parties. So we wanted to make it clear that for Wiper, going into any negotiations, the person that we are fronting for the next election is His Excellency Dr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka. Wanted to make that very clear. And of course that already did give our party leader stature. And now, as he talks to other like-minded political party leaders, they already know he has endorsement of his political party, his movement, and therefore, I mean, it already puts him a step ahead of some of them. So that's basically what, in a nutshell, we are doing, other than, of course, a lot of other political messaging that you had at the Uhuru Park. I mean, the naysayers did not know that we would do it, and I was shocked when they started, as usual, the noise on social media that it was a Kamba affair. I mean, just because they were branded in royal blue doesn't mean they are Kambas. In fact, Kambas, naturally, their color is yellow. But when Kenya Kwanza's UDA took over yellow, we stopped wearing yellow.
Interesting. That's a light moment. Now, in advanced democracies, the opposition is usually the government in waiting. And those critical of the united opposition right here in the country mention it's anything but united. If you look at what the naysayers are saying, we've seen ego wars, we've seen sibling rivalries amongst some of the principals, slogans and not solutions. This is what they're saying the opposition is offering at face value. So apart from, populism and tribal arithmetic, let's talk about how you respond to these naysayers that say the united opposition, apart from Ruto must go, there's nothing else of value they're bringing to the table.
I'll tell you the reason that keeps coming up is because they want us to start doing the same script that William Ruto played last elections. Ruto went all over the country and made very many promises. And I think he's getting worried that we are picking traction and we are not making promises. He went around the country and told people he's coming up with some strange model that was a bottom-up model that was going to bring the people from poverty and, would raise people from the lowest level. Mamambogas would be having supermarkets and boda riders would have matatus. Those are the things he said to the public. And so people followed him because of the promises he was making. But we've realized 3 years down the road that was just hot air, like the Supreme Court said. I mean, there was really nothing, no substance behind it. We've seen the cost of living skyrocket within his first year. We saw the drop, very serious drop of the value of the Kenyan shilling. We saw the high inflation rates at the beginning. And even though things are improving a little, it's basically because sometimes when there's only one direction to go, that is down, because it's taken us to the worst possible places. So generally, the Kenya Kwanza regime wants us to engage in development agenda, and they want us to talk only about what we shall do, because then it makes us look like we are promising what he did before, and then it will make people think that as usual these politicians are coming here with hefty promises, and therefore they're probably lying to us. So we are telling them that we will not give promises, but we'll only give Kenyans one promise, that we will get together to remove the poor governance that William Ruto and his team have brought to this country. I mean, you don't even have to go far. Look at the kind of taxation measures that this regime has brought upon Kenyans. I will tell you this, maybe many people have not calculated, but our salaries have kind of dropped 6 times since William Ruto became president. Because any time you increase, any of the taxes, any of the deductions that are made in anyone's payslip, that basically means the pay has dropped. You note that they increased the NSSF. That means the salaries dropped, and they increased the NSSF again. So it's been raised twice during Ruto's regime. That is 2 times salaries have gone down. They raised the NHIF rates. That meant that salaries went lower, and then removed NHIF and brought SHA, which was even higher. So again, that's another 2 times salaries have gone down. They introduced the housing levy, which also brought salaries lower. And then, of course, pay as you earn for those who earn a certain level of salary also went up. So basically, this is a regime that has hurt people, directly in their pockets for salaried people. Now look at the business community. They introduced the minimum tax that when you do business, whether you make profit or not, you must pay taxes. And not to forget that, when they introduced the e-teams accounts, the That was, you remember when it was taken to Moranga and the farmers were up up in arms and said, no, this is not what we wanted. This is not what we expected. That every time you harvest your avocado, your macadamia, your mango, you have to pay the government something. They didn't give you free fertilizer because that tree grew a long time ago. The land belongs to you. It's you harvesting, it's you paying the labor, and then the government wants to take some part of that money. So basically the tax regime that has been introduced by this government is completely unacceptable.
Okay.
Now look at what they have done with the demonstrations. Every year, almost every year for the longest time, Kenyans have demonstrated. I mean, the first, even our independence was through the demonstrations by Mau Mau. Then came first revolution and people, second liberation, when Kenyans were fighting for multi-party democracy. The Sabasaba started then. And people shed their, shed blood because of that, shed tears, sweated for it. And this liberation was achieved. So basically, it has always been one of the ways by which Kenyans agitate so that they can get better governance. This regime has introduced the most draconian ways of handling demonstrators. They have given instructions, shoot, and I dare say, C.S. Murkomen implied that you can shoot to kill, though he didn't say it. But one of the members of parliament, who was a chair of Committee of Defense, did say that actually what we meant was shoot to kill. The president himself tried to make it easy and said shoot on the leg. But I'll tell you, Rex Masai, the first Gen Z to be killed in the streets of Nairobi, was shot on the leg and he died. So, basically, this is a regime that is merciless.
Okay.
But let me just finalize by saying that even on the demonstration issue, it is the only regime that has partnered thugs with police to deal with demonstrators. We saw, you have the photos you saw, armed police with hooligans carrying machetes and rungus, patrolling the streets of Nairobi. What kind of regime does that? And so basically, without saying much, because the rot that has been brought in by this regime is just, it's immeasurable. I want to say that that is enough to say Ruto must go. That is enough for Kenyans to give him only one term.
Okay, so is the united opposition united by principle, or Ruto must go as a unifying factor? Because what will happen to the united opposition if indeed Ruto goes? Will that be the end of the unity?
Now, once, what happens is that, we are brought together by, of course, by the intention to get rid of bad governance. Just like Mau Mau, just like the Kenyans in the second liberation, we've been brought together to fight bad governance. And once we get rid of that governance, what will hold us together is to ensure that then we do not allow bad governance to creep in. So basically that will hold us together into the next regime. And I'm certain that we will do a better job, much better job than William Ruto is doing. But then again, we are also united by Kenyans, because Kenyans out there are very unhappy with the regime. So basically, anyone who tries to join them, basically you saw what happened in the last 2 years.
Okay.
Even members of parliament who support the regime, you vote in their favor. The Kenyans land in your home, want to burn your house. They burn your chicken, burn your cars. It's Kenyans are speaking, and we have to make sure that they have spokespeople even in the house and in politics. So that's why we are where we are, so that we can remain with Kenyans, united behind Kenyans, to ensure that we get rid of bad governance.
Are there internal divisions and cracks within the united opposition? Lise Mwalo Lipo. So when there's smoke, there's fire. You can't downplay it. What's causing these divisions?
Now let me say that even when you're courting your wife, when she's your girlfriend, I can tell you it can never be smooth until the day you have that wedding. There'll always be that time that you tell her, let's meet at 10, and then you get there late at 11 because you had a meeting, and she can understand that because maybe she thinks you think you're more important than she is. Small rivalries always exist when people are getting. We are at the formative stages. These are politicians that have been coming from different backgrounds. Former DP Rigathi Gachagua was DP just a short while ago, about a year ago. And, he was part of government. Fred Matiang'i was, for all intents and purposes, Prime Minister of the Republic of Kenya under Uhuru's government, because he was chairing cabinet meetings on behalf of the president. So He was also a very powerful leader in the house. I mean, in the country. My party leader was vice president of Kibaki when they really did a tremendous job. So all these leaders have got different histories. So the convergence point has actually been to get rid of the regime. But in the process, they're getting to know each other, to learn each other's temperaments, to learn each other's sense of humor. And, you know, sometimes someone says something, maybe they think it's funny, but it's not funny for the other. So, yes, there has been a little bit of tension here and there. But I can tell you that there's never been any grouping that came together that didn't start that way. So it starts off, you know, even the best marriages started with some little bit of suspicion. You're not too sure whether this woman is really yours. You don't know whether there was another boyfriend that might reappear. And she's not sure whether your previous girlfriend might reappear. So this is normal. And so there's suspicion. I mean, there's been a lot of suspicion about my party leader. They keep saying, you know, my party leader is talking to Ruto at night. He's going to State House at night. And I keep wondering.
Is he?
He's not. You know what? Let me say this.
Yeah.
He has no reason to go to State House at night and then criticize the president during the day. Because then it doesn't achieve any purpose. If we go to State House, then we would have to go and do the agenda, the bidding of what State House wants.
So is State House coming to you?
So State House has been approaching us, that's for sure. They've sent emissaries, and that's. I mean, there's no secret about that. They have said it every time they come to anywhere where we can listen. They would say, you know, Kalonzo is a good man. He's keeping bad company. We need to talk to him. So that's been a story for a long time. So, but then you see, every time they say that, it kind of makes our partners a bit jittery. Are we really going to go all the way? So there's always those questions of, is Kalonzo going to stay firm? But I can assure you, Kalonzo Musyoka is going to stay firm. Because all of us that support him and wholeheartedly, and he knows, we are determined to make sure that we improve the fortunes of Kenyans. And we cannot improve fortunes of Kenyans by all joining the broad-based government. It doesn't make sense. There must be two sides to a coin. This Kenyan coin that is supposed to be one-sided with the king's head on both sides is really unacceptable, in fact, democratically. So William Ruto must know, you already have numbers, you've bought everybody else. Leave Wiper and those like-minded leaders on their own. We will do the little we can in making sure that we hold you to account up to 2027 when Kenyans will remove you from office. So that for me is what's happening. So don't worry. There will be a lot of smoke. There will be a little bit of fire. We'll put off the fires, but we will ensure that this team remains united. And let me tell you, if you listen to all of them and watch their body language, yes, you can see a little bit of tension. It's there. But all of them are saying that sticking together is not an option. I mean, it's not an option. There is no alternative.
They have to.
Yeah, they have to. So basically, unless somebody gets a very big offer, because I know the house in the hill has got sacks full of money that are going around the whole country.
So let me ask you this.
If they stop that for a week and give that to one person, maybe it can convince them.
As we take a short break, because 2027 will be Kalonzo's second stab at the presidency, and perhaps the most consequential if he indeed makes it to the ballot. Well, what's Wiper's position if Kalonzo Musyoka is asked to step aside in favor of a united opposition candidate who's not him? You've done it time and time again. This time round, are you ready to perhaps take your political ambitions to the backseat in favor of a different opposition candidate?
I'll say that there is nothing that's impossible. But if you look at all the candidates, I mean, the only one that is on the last bullet is Dr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka. I mean, any one of them would have to be really unfair to try and push him to a backseat, because he's got what it takes, and I think the country now needs that kind of leader. Because ideally, when you want to get rid of a almost dictatorial regime like Ruto's, then you need an opposite, the person who's the direct opposite, and that's Kalonzo Musyoka. Why? Because he's a kind of person, when Ruto is, is aggressive and boastful and chest thumping, Kalonzo Musyoka can't do that. All his political history has shown that. When Ruto can order for children to be shot in the legs, Kalonzo Musyoka's history shows he can do that. When Ruto has been tainted from the time he was deputy president and before, even when he was minister, with cases corruption. Kalonzo Musyoka, the only case that has ever been mentioned was of his land in Yatta, which he went to DCI and said, I am tired of this discussion. Can you now give an official report? He took himself to DCI. Not invited, he took himself and told them, get to the bottom of this. I bought this land. Why is it constantly? And he was clear. So he's also a person who goes opposite the regime because he's also clean. And I think he's also God-fearing. And I can say, I don't think he uses a church like it was used in the last regime. You know, the church was conned into believing that, someone would bring heaven to earth, but what they have delivered is hell on earth.
So when you say
those of us,
nothing is impossible, that means Wiper is ready if indeed that's the direction the opposition takes.
I want to say that's a position of the united opposition, that we must stick together irrespective of who is the flag bearer.
Okay.
But I'm just saying that the best candidate is my party leader.
All right. And perhaps that's why he's the most sought after politician as we speak currently. Allow us to take a short commercial break. As we come back, we'll shift focus to Kabarak as we evaluate the handshake between President William Ruto and longtime political nemesis KANU chairperson Gideon Moi. That conversation after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to KTN Prime. We continue with the deliberations right here in studio. I'm joined by Robert Mbui, the Kadhiani Member of Parliament and a high-ranking member of the Wiper Patriotic Front Party. We now want to talk matters political handshakes, because as Wiper Patriotic Front was busy at Uhuru Park, the other side, we saw President William Ruto pull off a fresh political masterstroke, bringing long-time political rival, the KANU chairperson Gideon Moi, into the broad-based government. Let's just listen in to some of the sentiments that were shared last week as the two leaders met. Okay, we'll be listening to the leaders in just but a while once we have the sound bites ready. But those are pictures, I think it was last week Friday, coincidentally on Moi Day, as it was referred to back then. So the symbolism between these two leaders meeting on that particular day, laying a wreath at the late president's mausoleum, it definitely sends a political signal. And a lot has been taken from that particular meeting in terms of President William Ruto using, his political strategy to bring into the camp a member of the political dynasties he had once criticized time and time again. We'll just listen into the bites a little bit later on, but once we evaluate this particular meeting, Mbui, for a man who was critical of political dynasties pre-2022 election, President Ruto seems to have embraced handshakes to either unite the nation or secure his chances for re-election come 2027. What do you make of that particular move as we wait for the bites a little bit later on? Is this a political masterstroke or simply a gentleman clutching on straws?
First and foremost, I don't think he'll achieve much from that move. But let me just say that this is the political deceit that William Ruto is known for. He told us after the last election that he believes in a strong opposition. Mm-hmm. And the very first thing he did was procure members of the then Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance. KANU members like Kasaid Kamket of Tiati were one of the first people to go to the side of William Ruto. Jubilee Party members, almost all of them, except maybe one or two, crossed to that side, induced and seduced by William Ruto. So he says one thing and does the other, because when he said he wants a strong opposition, I thought it meant that he would leave us alone to do our work, to oversight his government. But he made sure that he silences the opposition by procuring them to be singing the choir in the house and to sing the choir in the streets and in the villages on his behalf. But again, remember, he was very, very vocal against, he introduced, in my opinion, I think very divisive Kenyan politics of the hustler versus dynasty. And at that time, I mean, the truth be told, the hustlers are very many. So he was trying to own their vote by telling them that the opposition is made up of dynasties. At that time, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta as president, Raila Amolo Odinga, whose father was the vice president, and Gideon Moi, Kanu chairman, whose father was president. So he pointed out that his father was nobody, and therefore these people whose fathers have, whose fathers were big people, have ganged up against me. Now what does he do? He's already got Raila on his camp. Now he's taken Ruto to his camp. We know he's trying to woo Uhuru to his camp. So who's fooling who? You know, someone said you can fool, was it Bob Marley? You can fool some people sometimes, but you cannot fool all the people all the time. And I think that's what he's trying to do. But then again, I listened to the comments, and when you play that clip, play that part, where he says, you know, I'm coming together with my brother Gideon to unite the country. I mean, so who are you? when you talk to people of Baringo in Rift Valley, they're already behind William Ruto. So how is he uniting the country when he's talking to the same community? You know, because I think when he was saying that earlier, it kind of meant that he's talking to people from different regions. So when he talks to people of his own region, how is he then uniting the country?
The chivalry begins at home. It shouldn't end there.
No, but you know what? Like I said, I don't believe that this is a masterstroke, that it's adding anything. It's just can I say that it's just an impression that well, I'm winning over all political leaders, because for all intents and purposes, that region that Gideon Moi comes from, William Ruto got almost all the votes. So basically, when Gideon Moi joins, what additional vote is he getting? Now let's go and look at the House, because sometimes you want a political party because of numbers, so that you can boost your numbers in the House. William Ruto has procured all political parties except Wiper and DAPK, and you know, KANU, maybe one or two members might still remain with us. ODM, a few members are still with us, but for majority of members have gone. That's why when he decided to impeach his deputy, it was easy for him, because he could get the 2/3. Let me tell you, it is difficult for Parliament, even when they are trying to save their own neck, to raise the 2/3. We can take a long time to mobilize each other. But William Ruto just, you know, within a day or two, had mobilized all members to go and impeach his deputy. So I think he doesn't need KANU for the numbers. It's the optics. He wants to just show that all the political parties are coming together. But I want to warn them, it doesn't look good for the country. Democracy is such that the winner runs a country. Those that don't make it can have a duty to keep him in check. Because when you go into politics, when we formed Wiper and when you joined Wiper, it's because we also want to fight for political power. Okay. But getting power through the back door, that somebody who's your opponent wins, and once he wins, you go through the window and join his government. I think that's political deceit. The fair thing to do is let him run his 5 years. And then you meet at the ballot, and then you offer Kenyans an alternative.
Is it really political deceit? Yeah. South Africa, if I can draw as an example, yes. I mean, the ruling party had to reach out to the other parties in order to form government. So
let me tell you at what point, when you're, like, for example, if you go to the 2027 elections and you don't have an outright winner, then what happens is that you have to go into some coalition just before the election, so that you can come together, form government together. Now, William Ruto formed government alone. He had the numbers to form government. He had already formed government. He didn't need to keep reaching out to members of different political parties because if he was just doing the right thing, he would not need to procure all these members. Because if your agenda is correct and people can believe in you, and what you do is what you mean, then people will support you. And members of parliament, for your information, we don't oppose for the sake of it. By the way, there's a lot of government agenda that we support. There's even government agenda we second. You go to the records, you find I've seconded motions that are government agenda because they are good for the people. But when you find, an excessive tax being introduced to the people, then that I would oppose. When I see them trying to sell Kenya Pipeline Company, I would oppose that because I think that's a critical infrastructure for the people of Kenya and that their heritage cannot be sold by a regime because once they do that, then what's left in the hands of Kenyans? So, and what if the entrepreneur who is interested in profit, a profiteer, decides to close that pipeline for a month and say, I'm renovating? The cost of fuel will skyrocket and they can hold us at ransom. So there are certain decisions they make that I am opposed, not just because I'm in the minority or the opposition, but because I think it's wrong.
Your conscience.
So basically, I think that's what we do, and it's unfortunate. But what is happening in Kenya now? I think what we are being treated to is a circus. This show of that so and so has joined me, that my numbers are going up, is really nothing. If you go to the statistics, still the majority of Kenyans want Ruto to go.
Okay, let's listen to what President William Ruto and the KANU chairperson Gideon Moi had to say as they had a convergence of political ambition. Listen in.
Na nimeongea na viongozi wengi, moja yao akiwa ni my brother Gideon hapa. Tumeongea na my brother Gideon Moi na tumekubaliana na yeye anisaidie tupange mambo ya taifa letu la Kenya. I want to ask you as the good people of the founding party of our nation to accept for us to work together.
Sasa wale alitudanganya ndio shida ya Kenya. Kila siku ako na familia ya Moi. Ni muongo si muongo?
Amekutana na Moi na Gideon atikuunganisha Kenya. Jameni, huo ndio muungano wa Kenya ama muungano wa Kenya huko hapa?
When the President of the Republic of Kenya meets his kinsmen, hiyo anaita unity. Wakati sisi tunapatana, hiyo inakuwa ni ukabila.
Okay, interesting sentiments across the political divide. As we finalize on this, Mbui, is this a sign of political strength or political survival? Because at the end of the day, we have to question what impact will these agreements actually have? Will it change how Kenyans perceive the current administration from where you sit?
No, I don't think it will change anything. I don't think it will change anything at all. If anything, it might even annoy Kenyans a little bit more because then they will look at political leaders as self-seekers that will constantly do things for their own personal benefit. And every time there is leaders crossing from one side to the other without maybe fresh mandate of the electorate, it looks very bad. I have been a very serious and strong admirer of Raila Amolo Odinga for over the years. In fact, I followed him into demonstrations where my leg was shot and broken because I've always believed in him. And there's one thing he did, which I'll mention here. When he fell out with his party, the party that had sponsored him to parliament, he actually resigned his party and resigned his seat and went and sought a fresh mandate from the people of Kibra then. Then it was Langata constituency, which was combined Kibra and Langata. And he was re-elected. And so when he got back to the house, he could hold his head up high because he had done the right democratic thing to do. Look at, now for example, KANU members were elected under Azimio la Umoja One Kenya. They have crossed to Kenya Kwanza for all intents and purposes because their leader has taken them there. They have not gone back to the people that elected them and asked them, what do you want us to cross over or not? Members of Jubilee crossed over to that side. They never went to seek fresh mandate from the people whether they can cross the floor. Members of ODM, when they signed that agreement, which they have insisted is not a coalition, But I really wonder, do you have to write the title coalition at the top of the document for it to be a coalition? If you are saying that we are working together from now henceforth, members of our party will be part of government, there will be CSs, and in the next election we will charter, it's a post-election agreement. And basically that's a coalition. But then, they will not accept that it's a coalition, but they've already charted a coalition to work together with the regime. So basically, when all political parties are crossing the floor, and they're not going to seek fresh mandate from the electorate, I think we are deceiving Kenyans. Because Kenyans elected you and Azimio la Umoja One Kenya. Because they believed you had the better ideas than William Ruto's Kenya Kwanza. Kenya Kwanza wins the election. Does that mean suddenly their policies are better than yours because they've won the election? Let us be patient, wait for 5 years, attempt again and see if you can wrestle the position from him. If you cannot, it's because maybe he has succeeded, he has managed to perform, and therefore that's why you would lose again. But then to join his government midstream, I think that's deceitful. I think that's political conmanship. That's what it's called. And I think this habit is what is angering our youth. Because we have a very highly enlightened youth. They understand politics. They do political science in university. Okay. They read politics. And they know that when they go to the ballot very early in the morning and elect Robert Mbui in Wiper Party and Azimio la Umoja, they expect him to stay there. And if Robert Mbui decides now he wants to go to Kenya Kwanza, then he must go back to Kathiani and tell the people of Kathiani, look, I have decided that the policies of this side are not good for me, so I am quitting. Will you give me a fresh mandate, resign the seat, and go back and seek a fresh mandate? If they don't want me to move, then I'll lose the election, and somebody else will win, the person who take over from the side where I was. Okay. But I think this deceit must come to an end.
I guess you're painting an ideal scenario. I wish we were in that space politically.
We must get there. Our young people want us to.
Speaking of the young people, why do you think they're not turning up to register during the continuous voter registration exercise? You've seen the numbers quite low as compared to the target of over 6 million newly registered voters. Why are they not turning up to register?
Okay, I'll tell you, I believe they're going to get there. And I believe the numbers will reach the 6 million. It is possible. But what is happening is IBC has started this thing off on a shoestring budget. So they would have scanty registration centers. It's not all over the place. Yeah. So it's not easily accessible. Our young people are also struggling to get ID cards. So there's all this confusion. But one of the things I note is actually the distances they would have to cover. Nobody wants to spend a whole day having to walk from one corner of the constituency to the other to just go and get a voter's card. So that's what is, I think, the problem. But when they do the rollout that will go to every polling station, because they must do that, then people will be able to easily reach the polling station and register. Okay. Then the numbers will go up. Right now, I think there's a little of apathy because of the distances. And they know. The other thing is Kenyans are last-minute people. And I will tell you, and let me say this. You look at shopping for schools. Schools have been closed. I think I've heard the CS saying they'll open on 5th of January. Parents know they will require uniform, the shoes, books, I don't know, toiletries and other things that will be required when they report back to school. Watch and see what will be happening on the 4th of January and the 5th of January. Banks will be full, shops will be full, and yet they could have done it on 2nd, on 1st, even on 30th, But Kenyans will do that last minute. And it's true. Okay. That's how we are.
Unfortunately. Well, as we finalize this conversation, Bui, let's talk about these by-elections as slated for November 27th. I believe the campaign period has already been open. As a united opposition, we've seen some sort of a discussion in terms of fronting united candidates in some of these constituencies and wards across the country. As Wiper, how do you foresee this by-elections? Are you fronting candidates? Is it truly a litmus test in terms of the united opposition strength ahead of the 2027 general election? Briefly.
No, first and foremost, I think if we are really to look at what's going on, the UDA candidates and Kenya Kwanza candidates should be disqualified.
Why is that?
The amount of voter bribery taking place across the country is completely incredible. And I will tell you this because Kenyans are intelligent, they will eat that money, most likely they will not elect those who are spending corrupt funds in trying to influence their decision. But I tell you, it is a tragedy that the regime has opened its purse strings so that they can pour money and convince convince the voters. But it's also true that we are agreeing to field candidates where we feel that a candidate of one of our affiliate parties stands a stronger chance, then we step down our candidate so that we avoid the sibling rivalry. It has cost us in the past. I tell you, when we were in NASA coalition, we had a candidate, Wiper had a strong candidate in Langata constituency, ODM had a strong candidate in Langata constituency, but the URP party, or then, I don't know whether it was Jubilee then, won. And they won with a very small margin. The combined force of Wiper and ODM would have swept that constituency and taken the seat early morning. But we lost it because of sibling rivalry. So we've learned from that, and we are trying to be careful not to repeat similar mistakes. So that's why there's been discussions where we feel that one party is stronger, we support the candidate that has the better chances, so that we can win some seats. But I can tell you, the litmus test is true. Kenyans must know that even how they behave in these current by-elections will be sending a very strong signal. If you are saying Ruto has to serve one term, then you cannot be rewarding him by giving him, candidates in his affiliate parties in the next by-elections. Otherwise, it means that you're supporting the ills that you complain about all over social media. So I do believe that there's a possibility money will be forward and Kenyans will vote with their conscience. After all, I mean, this money that's being dished out, that's what we are fighting, because that's corrupt money. Instead of giving capitation to our children at the rate of 22,000 per year, they're giving 16,000. 6,000 is not released. And then that 6,000, parents are given 200, 300, and they clap for the regime. That's what is going on. It's a tragedy. SHA isn't working because money is, you all know, we've been reporting those stories, how money is being lost. But at the same time, they have money to go around with and dish out to electorates to be able to win an MCA seat, an MP seat. So I'm shocked. And not to forget, the KANU chairman was a candidate for Baringo Senate seat. So I don't know what magic was played, and last minute he was no longer a candidate. Yet the last time I remember he gave his credentials, he was approved by IEBC. This time I don't know what happened, he didn't even appear there. So I think there is some serious intimidation and all sorts of underhand games.
Well, we hear there's a looming cabinet shuffle. Let's see if that's perhaps the reason why the KANU chairperson decided perhaps let him fry bigger fish.
Wow.
Let's see how it all transpires. But President Moi, thank you so much for your time. The Kathiani constituency member of parliament, just getting his take on a couple of issues playing out in Kenya's political landscape. Hope you're adequately informed. That's how we wrap up tonight's edition of KTN Prime. On behalf of the entire team, we say thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your viewing. My name is Ashley. My name is Jesse Rogers. Good evening.